Since I have last recorded, last Wednesday, as I said, on Tuesday of this week, so yesterday for me recording today, there was an Apple release. Apple held this major event where they debuted a bunch of their kind of new technology, kind of their new things that they're going to be doing. And they released their new iPhone, a new Apple Watch, and many more things. And I hope that we can kind of look into see kind of the pros and the cons and kind of talk about what Apple has become as generally a company. Obviously, the big story with the Apple event is going to be the release of the new iPhone. Um, Initial thoughts on the iPhone. Yes, it is obviously it's better than the previous one, but at this point, um, I'm just waiting for every year a little incremental change from year to year. Yeah, the technology, the specs, the technical stuff gets better on it, but does that really make a difference? I'm not sure. Year after year, I feel as though there's a common theme with the iPhones where they add one extra feature and they kind of do that at the time. Maybe it's part of their business plan because maybe they have ideas for phones in the future where they're looking 5, 6 years down the line. But and in order to keep up with the technology, they have to release a phone every year, and it doesn't really make sense for them to release a phone with so many features that they don't have any ideas to go back to the drawing board for that next year when they release that next phone. So I do think there's a little bit of that tactic and a little bit of that strategy that they use when they approach designing their phones in particular and adding new features, increasing the chips, increasing the screen clarity, the camera quality, all that stuff. Year to year, I feel as though that's not something that they're striving to create the best phone that they've ever done year to year because I don't think it's sustainable. I think that they have multiple years of policies and products that they're going to add to these phones, different technologies, different iOS software updates, that kind of stuff that they plan years in the future. But let's talk about the new Apple event in itself. This is USA Today, kind of giving us to start off before we kind of jump into things, just a general overview. Obviously, prices are going to be one of the biggest things here and determining on what you're going to buy. New Apple Watch, 4 iPhone models, lot of stuff. All right, so let's start with the iPhone 15. The main thing here is for me is there's a new side button, the USB-C charging, which I think is actually a good thing. I wish that they have done that sooner. And yeah, just the camera quality was something that really stuck out to me as well. All right, so iPhone 15, iPhone 15 Plus, iPhone 15 Pro, and iPhone 15 Pro Max. The standard iPhone, the 15, just base model, is $799, and the 15 Plus, which is a little bit bigger, is going to start at $899. And here we have a 6.1-inch display for the iPhone 15 and a 6.7-inch display for the 15 Plus. Now I have the 13 Pro Max or whatever it is, and I love it. I mean, it works fine. All right. That's kind of what I got. And it is cool to see, particularly with a model. Now, this is two models in the past, and there is significant changes even from two models ago to the current one in terms of technical specifications. There's not, yeah, you have the differences in the screen and kind of the layout. You don't have as many notches as you have with the current iPhone, but still, overall, the design has slightly updated. The number one thing, personally, for me, is the camera. I think that is the biggest, and I'll explain why later. The biggest improvement that was made by the company. The standard iPhone 15 model will have an improved camera system that will allow for greater optical zoom, switching from a 12 megapixel main camera sensor to a 48 megapixel version. So 4 times as good camera quality already. Now, I have a 12 megapixel main camera sensor, and the pictures that I can take with it are ridiculous. I mean, the zoom on the phone that I currently have, the 13 Pro Max, is ridiculous. You can zoom into things that are hundreds, if not thousands of feet away from you and still take relatively accurate and good pictures. I remember having an iPhone Touch and trying to take a picture, trying to take a selfie in my bedroom or take a picture even across the room at something that was laying on the floor was impossible. You just could not see it. And now we are in a time where that is a thing of the past. You could take things in basically no light and the pictures still look amazing. Now, the Pro series, 2 sizes and 4 different finishes. The 15 Pro, which is the higher end version, starts at $999, while the Pro Max will start at $1199. The iPhone 15 Pro will have titanium sides, which replace the stainless steel used since the iPhone 10. The iPhone 15 Pro models will also have the faster A17 chip that the company claims will improve the mobile gaming experience. And as you can see, the camera right there, which we'll get into in a second. But first, I'm not sure how many actual users of iPhones are particularly playing games. I would imagine that it can't be too large of a percentage of people. I'm not sure about that, but I do think that people obviously play games on the phones. I myself do. But unless it was my iPhone XR and I was years and years past, I mean, I think I got that when I was a sophomore in college. And I had that pretty much up until maybe a year ago. And then I broke it and I had to get a new phone. And the the major issue that I had with that phone was overheating. One, because if you would play a game and it's obviously updated and it's up to the standards of the new iPhones, where they have certain demands that they have, the particular apps, they have demands of processing power, how big of a file it actually is. And a older phone trying to run that same program compared to even an iPhone 13, iPhone 14, iPhone 12, an iPhone XR just doesn't even hold up. So what would happen would be is that my phone would heat up, and I mean really heat up. I would play a game, even with my phone plugged in, unplugged, didn't matter. My phone within 30 minutes of trying to play any type of game, like a common game I would play would be like Call of Duty or something that takes a lot of energy and a lot of processing power. But after 30 minutes, I would get a notification on my phone. Hey, your phone is way too hot. You can't play this game anymore. You have to shut down your phone. And ultimately what I would do is, and I still do this sometimes today, I would take my phone and I would either put it in the fridge or I would put it in the freezer. And if you put it in the freezer for about 30 seconds to a minute, it can really cool down the phone very well. So that's one of those things that I did back with my old phone, and now I still do it because I do have a wireless charger that you can see has the MagSafe capability on it, and I connect that to my phone sometimes if I need to charge it and I don't have a cable around me. It it charges like maybe like 50% of the battery or something. It's not super crazy. It's more so to just kind of keep me going throughout the day. But the issue with that is I don't know if it's because of the magnetism, but the sticking together makes it so hot. And I think that um one of the reasons why is because, like I said, the magnetism, but also because I'm watching videos at the same time. When I tell you my screen time on my phone is very high, we're talking maybe 10 hours a day. And now that's not all on the notes app or social media. Like, let's check today. Although today I was working, technically today. I worked last night 9 p.m. till 5 a.m. this morning. So there is a lot between the midnight to 5 a.m. hour of when I was on my phone. But if we're just going by today, I have 9 hours and 30 minutes of screen time today. I have 3 hours and 2 minutes of YouTube, 2 hours and 42 minutes of TikTok, 2 hours, 31 minutes of Spotify, and then just 23 minutes of messages. And it's kind of it. The rest are 10 minutes and under. So the majority of the phone use that I do is listening to podcasts, particularly with YouTube, watching podcasts. With Spotify, you can shut your phone off, and so that screen doesn't have to constantly be on, right? So that's one way that I help to not only conserve battery, but also keep the screen from being off and overheating to a sense. But hopefully with this new chip, um, it kind of diminishes the overall impact that a certain game is going to have on your phone, and that a certain thing that you're trying to run on your phone, trying to watch a movie, trying to open up Netflix or whatever you may have it, watch YouTube videos. Once you get to later and later versions, this chip is going to still be able to keep up with those later and later games. And I've seen it completely evident with my current phone, the 13 Pro Max, where the same games that I used to play on my XR, where, like I said, I would have to put my phone down 30 minutes. And then I couldn't hold it in my hand because it was so hot. And I even had a case on it. I'd have to take the case off and just throw it in the freezer for about a minute, which is very annoying. But with the new phone, I can play a game for an hour or two. Now I usually don't play a particular game. I mostly spend my time watching videos, but even with the videos, the unless I have the screen on full blast and I have it going and I have it also charging with my external charger, maybe in about 45 minutes to an hour does my phone start to get really hot. And the charging block doesn't even usually last an hour of charging. Especially once I get up to a higher percentage of my phone, it really starts to slow down. I just think that's because the actual charging block itself gets hot and the efficiency isn't as high. But let's hope that with this new chip that these problems are going to be reduced. That's probably the main factor. And then another factor is that the people who complain about having issues with their older phones slowing down after an update, that's kind of the idea with these chips right here, where you're going to update to iOS 20 whatever, and now you have an iPhone 50 and it's a couple years old, but because of that chip's performance, it's still able to run those later programs that require more data and more processing power, which is ultimately a good thing. You never want to see them come out with a new iPhone and they don't have a new chip. That's a little interesting. If that ever happens where they keep the same chip. Now I can't speak for past phones because um like I said, I went from XR to 13 Pro Max. During that in between time I was interested in the phones. Once the iPhone 10 came out and there was no home button anymore, I was like, whoa, that was a really cool thing. Um, After that, I started keeping a little attention to the iPhone developments, but for the most part, I wasn't paying attention, so I can't speak to those older versions. However, going back to the article again, USA Today, and going back to particularly the thing that I think is, I wouldn't say it's the most important, but I thought it was one of the biggest improvements that I've seen in a phone in quite some time. The camera, the 48 megapixel camera, and also another cool thing is 5 times optical zoom. Currently, right now with the 13, and I think the 14 as well. I'll check that later. You can go up to 3 times zoom. And like I said earlier, that's a crazy zoom. And it's still super clear, and there's not really any issues with it. And I use that to take many of my pictures in Portugal. Um, but I, this isn't a feature that all people will really care too much about. I mean, people, unless you're some type of photographer or you like taking videos or you're like a content creator of some kind, or um or you're just interested in the updated changes, then you'll really care about this feature. I don't really care about it. I think it is the one of the most impactful things of the phone itself, and I'll talk about some other features of the phone as well that I think are super cool as well. But the new camera, probably my biggest improvement on the device in terms of a performance aspect. Moving on to the Apple Watch, the Series 9. I've had an Apple Watch since I was in college, since I was probably maybe a freshman or sophomore. That's when I got really big into working out. I wasn't as big into diet. I was into working out, but I was not into diet. And I would use the Apple Watch to like kind of track all my workouts to see kind of what my fitness level was. I would also use it for runs. I love using it for that. Um, Keeping pace and kind of all the heart rate stuff, all that stuff that, and it goes right into your health app and you can kind of track your progress and your performance over time. Super, super helpful. But the new Apple Watch 9, you can kind of see in this little graphic right here, it's got fast charging, carbon neutral, Siri health queries, new cycling features, new bands, crash detection, a brighter display, advanced cycle tracking, HomePad integration, a new gesture for Apple Watch, on-device Siri, and a new chip. And this thing is pretty sleek. I think I have like the Series 5 or something. Like I'm super super behind. The primary upgrade for this comes with a new processing chip called the S9 SiP, which the company claims it will be faster than the one introduced in 2020. I would hope it's faster. It will have updated colors, including pink, starlight, and silver. Um, This double tap. The feature allows users to answer a call or control any number of actions in an app by tapping their index finger and thumb together twice. That's a really cool feature. That's kind of what a new gesture, and you can see kind of up in this photo right here. What is that looking like? Right? We, I mean, how many people are really going to be using that? If you're out there in public, you're on public transport, and you start clicking your fingers together, are people going to think you're weird? I'm not too sure, but this is going to be priced at $399, and it's going to come out September 22nd. So if you are looking for a new watch, with I guess the screen brightness is also crazy. I think that screen brightness is more than even on my phone. The new gesture is cool. I have no idea how that works, but that is a cool thing. But now their second edition of their Ultra, the Apple Watch Ultra. Now this thing comes in almost like one of those Garmin smartwatches, which are crazy, 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 technologically advanced. Similar to the Series 9, the Apple Watch Ultra 2 will have the double tap feature and the S9 SiP processor. Okay. Will have on-device Siri, enabling faster, more accurate responses. And this will be $799. And there's just so many more features to this than the other Apple Watch. I really do suggest that you go uh check this thing out. I mean, it's got some crazy technology in it and crazy performance as well. And then next, Apple confirmed that its phones will move away from the company's Lightning charging system to a USB-C port. And it will begin with the iPhone 15 line and AirPod charging case. Another thing that you can do is charge using that USB-C port in the actual phone and connect it outwards to, say, your AirPods case, or say to anything else that can be connected via that USB-C port, which is a very cool function. I know Samsung has a function where you can kind of charge another phone with your phone, and you can transfer over battery to another device or even another phone, which I think is a cool feature as well. More than 30 people watched the Apple event. That is a lot of stuff. All right, moving on. Now going on to kind of see Apple and see right here. Let's go into the iPhone 15 first. Kind of take a look at what we're seeing right here. I mean, it looks beautiful. Obviously, it's very nice. Get the highlights. Still have that same dynamic island, which I think is pretty cool. Uh, yeah, the camera right here. Click and swipe. Now have dive into the display. The dynamic island stays right here, and I think that is one of the cool things that they have added to the phone. It's I mean, it was in last year's phone, the 14, but I think overall that was a good idea, just to have as much screen as you possibly can on these things. All kinds of activities, keeps getting more and more helpful. I mean, with flights, that's super, super nice. Trains and stuff, that would be nice. Weather. A display that shines bright. Super Retina XDR display is up to twice as bright in the sun compared to iPhone 14, and you'll really notice the difference. That's one of the things that I don't like about these things, is that I just don't feel like they're bright enough when I go outside. And this was even worse on the XR. If I took it outside full brightness, it was overheating super fast, but two, it was almost impossible to see what I was looking at on the screen in the middle of the day. All right, it has back glass that has color infused throughout the material. So that's kind of staying the same. Same exact water resistance profile as the previous phone, so nothing changing there. And then the camera right here. I mean, this demonstration is pretty cool, but let's take a deep look at these 48 megapixel cameras, which is, like I said, 4 times better than the previous one. More room to zoom, three optical quality zoom levels let you effortlessly frame the perfect shot from right where you are. Perfect close up, detailed middle shots, ultra wide camera. The night mode activates in especially dark scenes. Very, very cool. Smart HDR. True depth camera. That is something that I think that they have changed, or a new feature that they have for the actual camera, is that it'll focus on people's faces when you're taking a picture, both front and back camera. So you can use basically portrait mode if you needed to in a later date, to kind of fade out the background, so you could only see those people's faces in the image, or in something as simple as a FaceTime call as well. All right, 4K HDR videos, very, very cool. Yeah, I think having this is a big upgrade. Now, this is just the iPhone 15. I remember that, with this 48 megapixel. This isn't even the upgrade ones. And then here it is talking about uh that focus, the portrait mode. More detail and richer color make a dramatic difference in your portraits. And now you can tap to shift the focus between subjects even after you take the shot, which is a very, very cool feature to have right here. Video playback, 26 hours on iPhone 15 Plus, and 20 hours of video playback on iPhone 15, up to 3 additional hours of video playback compared to iPhone 12. Okay, so definitely have made some improvements. Now, let's kind of go into the iPhone 15 Pro, and kind of right here, there's not really going to be too much of a difference, but if you see right here off the bat, there's a button on the side. Obviously, the new chip made of titanium. Very cool. Looks very sleek. Very sleek. Obviously, the gaming, 6-core GPU. Camera is pretty crazy. Multiple focal lengths, 7 pro lenses in your pocket. So you have ultra wide 0.5x. Yeah, you can see you got the macro 13 millimeter, 24 millimeter, 28 millimeter, 35 millimeter. Now 2x telephoto going to 48 millimeter, and 5x telephoto 120 millimeter. The 48 megapixel main camera is more advanced than ever, capturing super high resolution photos with a new level of detail and color. You'll see the improvements in your portraits, and now you no longer have to switch to portrait mode. If your subject is a person, dog, cat, iPhone automatically captures depth information. So you can choose to instantly see your photo as a portrait with an artificial blur effect, or later in the Photos app. 120 things right here. I mean, just crazy level zoom on this thing, and looking more closely to kind of see right here, the fact that they have this in such a small thing is pretty insane, pretty intense. Up to 10,000 micro adjustments a second. So it's helping making your pictures look a little bit better. Yeah, the zoom on this thing is going to be crazy, crazy, crazy. Moving on to the next thing. The other thing that I think is a super, super important part of this phone, and important feature, is the action button. This thing looks crazy. So instead of that little switch that's going to be on the side of the iPhone 15 and all previous models, that little switch to the side where you can turn the ringer on and off, they put a button there, and then they allow you to customize what that button does. So if you want to, you can still have that button be the ringer on and off mode, which is fine. But you can also make that button turn on a particular do not disturb function, or turn on the camera, or maybe you want to use that as a flashlight, and instead of pulling down the menu and selecting the flashlight, you could just press this button on the side and it'll turn on for you. Or if you want to record a voice memo, you could do that as well. If you want to translate what somebody is saying, you can do that as well. If you want to magnify something, if you want to get a closer look at something, you can do that as well. Or you can add your own shortcut. So you can have this attached to where you press this button and it can open any app on your phone, or it can do a process for you, say like get me directions to go to work. If you just press this button on the side, you'll get directions no matter where you are, to go to your job, to go home, to do this, to do that. You can basically turn it into a button that can do just about anything for the phone, which is cool. Can run a series of tasks. Yeah, and then obviously with the cord as well, the connectivity. This is obviously the big story, because this is their first change to their charging since I believe it's 2012. So the iPhone 15 Pro is the first iPhone to support USB 3 for a huge leap in data transfer speeds and faster pro workflows than ever before. USB-C lets you charge your Mac or iPad with the same cable used to charge your iPhone 15 Pro, and up to 20 times faster file transfers. And also the USB-Cs I find are much harder to actually break the tip of it. Sometimes with the lightning cables, that little copper on the inside sometimes can get dirty, and then over time that'll decrease the rate of charge, and then also ultimately will not allow you to connect and charge your phone at all, which is something you definitely don't want. New Wi-Fi, so 2 times faster wireless speeds, which is good. New battery on these things. I mean, up to 29 hours on the 15 Pro Max and 23 hours on the 15 Pro. Um, definitely a big, big update there. I always love to have more battery powered. Yep. And then they also are going to have iOS 17 on it. So I'm very excited to see this. And one function of iOS 17, I don't know if I touched on this last time, but that I talked about the iPhone itself was the ability to share if you have a Apple keychain. I don't know exactly what it's called. It's the device that you use to track things. AirTag, Apple AirTag. Yes. You can share the location of your AirTag with somebody else. So, for example, Carmela, our dog, she she's sleeping right next to me right now. Um we have a collar for her that has an AirTag in it, and I set it up, and so I'm only able to have access to that. But with iOS 17, I can share that AirTag location with my wife. So if she runs away and I'm not home and I'm not able to get to my phone, my wife can look up where her location is. So super important. All right, now we'll kind of go through some differences between these phones and do a face by face comparison. So we have the iPhone 15 right here, and we can all kind of do let's all do the black and kind of keep it across the board right there. You can see the difference between the iPhone 15 and the iPhone 15 Pro, and the Pro Max as well, obviously. But just the difference in between the color of those two. Obviously, the titanium is making it look a little bit differently, and hopefully, um, in the final product, it actually is very sleek. Obviously, the big difference in price. Always on display for the Pro and the Pro Max, and a ProMotion technology as well, just making the screen look better. That's a big difference between right here. And then obviously Dynamic Island, the new chip, still same exact camera system, although there are more zoom options for the Pro and the Pro Max compared to the iPhone 15 itself. Obviously, major update for um, the battery, and then you can see USB-C, supports USB 2, supports USB 3 for up to 20 times faster transfers. That's on both the Pro and the Pro Max. So if you were to transfer files, say a photo album from your iPhone 15 Pro Max to your laptop, say you have 1,000 photos that you took and it's 20 to 30 gigs of data. If you were to do it on a Pro or a Pro Max compared to an iPhone 15, it would be actually faster. Obviously, Face ID, ceramic shell, aerospace grade titanium on the iPhone 15 Pro, and aluminum for the iPhone 15. And then sizes as well in terms of capacity for storage. So you get 128 gigs starting off with the iPhone 15. And on the 15 Pro, that's what the starting point is. But on the Pro Max, you get a starting point of 256. And now for both of the Pros, you can get up to a terabyte. And then with the iPhone 15, you can get up to 512 gigabytes. And then you can see right here in terms of the display, that always on function, but the ProMotion technology with adaptive refresh rates up to 120 hertz. So very fast refresh rate, which basically means you see stuff a lot better and it's a lot clearer and it's a lot more responsive. It just overall looks a lot better. And then haptic touch, you can see the difference in brightness is none, height, weight, all that stuff. Still pretty much the exact same splash, water, and dust resistance as old models. I mean, definitely don't want these things falling in the water. It's just more of a hassle than anything. And then camera right here, night mode portraits, macro photography, and Apple Pro RAW on the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max compared to the iPhone 15. And then obviously with that, you will have some differences in video recording as well. You'll still have the action mode, cinematic mode, slow motion, time lapse, all that stuff. But you'll get log video recording, ProRes video recording up to 4K at 60 FPS with external recording, Academy color encoding system, macro video recording, including slow-mo and time lapse for the Pro and the Pro Max. So, I mean, not too much in the difference of stuff that, unless you're a film creator, that doesn't really matter to you. Like I said, the main thing that's going to matter is going to be just, frankly, the actual quality, that 48 megapixel card. And then everything's the same. And now let's go to the 15 plus. There's not going to be really any difference here. You're not going to see new crazy differences with anything here. It's all going to stay pretty much the same. It's just going to be the size. The size is going to be a little bit larger for the 15 plus. It's just that going to be this pretty much the same size as the Pro Max, but just not of the same quality, and especially not that same side action button, which I think is also flying under the radar. I thought that that would be a major thing because that's a change that Apple's never done. I mean, they've never changed that button on the side. But kind of wrapping things up, you can see here's a write up by End and Gadget talking about the difference right here. I definitely do recommend you going down and watching here, especially with the stuff about the Apple Watch series. I'm not really going to cover that just because I don't think that's as interesting. If you like the Apple Watch, go read this article. They do a great breakdown on both of the watches here, and then also they do touch on the software a little bit, which fortunately is coming out in a couple of days. So that's coming out in about, from the time of this recording, about 5 days. So it's coming out on the 18th, which I am very, very much looking forward to. I do think that we will see a lot of people, hopefully. I mean, the obviously with the price, the price is the number one thing, but I really hope to see a lot of people kind of just go to the Pro and the Pro Max options. I mean, obviously those are more expensive, as I just said, but I mean that action button is very intriguing, and I think that they probably should have included that on the 15. Like, why do they need to not have that? One of their things that they've done in the past is this iPhone SE, which is basically, let's take a old phone design but put really good parts in it. So this is the SE. They gave it back a home button for those people who really wanted that. Has an A15 chip, which even if you go back to say iPhone, let's just do an iPhone X. It has an A11 chip. I mean, the difference is crazy in the terms of the performance of this. Yeah, even the second generation one, A13 chip, and the third generation of it with the A15 chip. So still different results, um, but still an all around great phone. And I unfortunately think that's where they're kind of going with the iPhone 15, just like that base model. Now, understandable if people don't want to spend 12, $1,300 with tax on a phone. I understand that. Um, but for the performance that you're going to get out of the maxes, especially with that action button, especially with those different file transfer speeds, I think those are kind of the big selling factors right here. But besides that, the difference in the camera, if you're not a professional photographer, I really don't think that people are going to really see all that much of a difference. But I do hope that you can go look into see what the new iPhone is. Look at it compared to the 14 to the 13, no matter which one you have. Do a little bit of a comparison because I just think it's important.